Hello, good afternoon, good afternoon. I'm so excited to do this live today. I am Glenda, and I am a leadership strategist. And what that means is I help you maximize where you are relative to your career goals, your financial goals, and your household. I am a hiring manager, and I'm passionate about leadership specifically for women, particularly for women of color. And it's amazing. I've had so many great just experiences with women, and I'm excited. I can't wait to share some things that I'm doing with women right now in particular. But what I do is help you maximize where you are. So if you are passionate about your career and you want to take it to the next level, let's talk about how to do that. I help you strategize that. If you're saying, hey, you know what, I appreciate my career, but I have passions that are outside of what I do on a day-to-day basis. Well, how many of us know that we need to be able to fund our dreams, and so it takes resources to do that? So I'm a person that's all about, I don't feel like people should always have to start at zero, right? So I help you maximize where you are so you're not having to start at zero. I've been a business owner. I'm a business owner now. I know what it's like to juggle your career and juggle your passions, but I'm all about maximizing where you are. The skills that I use in my own career, the skills that have helped me in the middle of a pandemic ascend into an officer position. It's the skills that have allowed me from a financial standpoint to be able to fund me and my fiance, fund our dream wedding debt-free, not having to tap into 401ks and do anything like that. And so I'm all about helping people maximize where they are with specific skills. Yes, and I am a believer, so I believe in the favor of God and skills and strategies and the practical. And so that's what I do at thebizslayer.com. I'm so excited because I'm currently working with 3 ladies right now who are all 3 of them. I'm excited. I got to calm down. All 3 of them are in the interview stages of their career transition. So I'm telling you, if you have been putting out your resume, especially if it's been since January, it is April 1st today. If you haven't gotten callbacks, if you haven't gotten an interview, you should have at least gotten at least 1 interview. If you haven't, you definitely want to chat with me. I can get you more strategic. There may be some blind spots. It may not even be something that's major. It may just be a minor tweak that we need to do that may be a blind spot for you, that because I am a hiring manager, I've had to create and author job descriptions. I've had to fire people. I've had to hire people. I had to take a territory from scratch and grow it to a multi-million-dollar East Coast operation. I have the experience of knowing what it takes to be successful in the skill sets that it takes to be successful in certain roles. And so because I had that experience, I can help you. So those 3 ladies, I just got a text this morning from one of them that said, hey, I got a interview that I'm scheduling. And I'm so excited because we literally shifted her like maybe 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, dang, this is amazing. So I'm so excited about that. So definitely want to chat with me because what I do works. I do it in my own career. And also, I started a resume series. You want to check that out. It's free on my site, thebizslayer.com. In January, I did that. I'm actually going to start an interview series. So what good is a resume that's a stellar resume and then you get to the interview and can't deliver because you're not able to communicate your value well, right? So we're going to talk about interviewing and what you should do. And I hate like do's and don'ts, but basically how to optimize your interview experience, right? So that you can get what you want, how to negotiate your value, how to get yourself positioned to relocate. Many of you may not know, but May through September are peak months for moving and relocation. I can say for myself, I relocated to Atlanta in May of 2013, and I relocated to Tennessee in September, way back when, right? So yeah, I've moved in those peak months. So, but how do you get yourself positioned to beat out local talent? Atlanta is a very competitive market. Can I tell you? Extremely competitive here. But Glenda beat out local talent. And how did I do that? I used the same skills that I did for my own career to help my best friend move from Maryland to Los Angeles, California, working for a major media company in Los Angeles, California. How did she do that? Well, it's the same skills that I use in my career, that we use in her career, and anyone else that wants to learn and understand how to beat out local talent. We're going to be talking a little bit about that in this month as well. So today, I'm glad you joined me, because today we're going to be talking about technological unemployment. So the ability for computers, automation, artificial intelligence to replace jobs and replace tasks that were historically being performed by human labor. Is that a thing? Yes, it is a thing. I posted on my the BizSlayer Instagram account earlier this week, the jobs that are the highest risk of being replaced by automation. And you know what? My industry was on the list. So I'm really concerned. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm really concerned because I'm hearing high spaces talk about this, but I'm not hearing a lot of my peers talk about this, and I get it. And as a leader, I'm in those spaces and I'm in those conversations. So, but I'm really wanting my peers, I'm really wanting the resources, the people who are on the front lines to really be thinking and paying attention to this, because it does affect us. And so some of those jobs that were on the list were accounting. So if you know anybody that's an accountant, you know anybody that's in insurance, you know anybody that's a cashier in a retail space, a waiter or a waitress, even truck drivers, if you know somebody that's in transportation and logistics, those jobs are high risk of being replaced by automation. Why? Well, this is what I want to talk about today really, really quickly. And I'll tell you, it's funny because economists have differing views about this, right? So the main question is technology creating a jobless future? Okay. The short answer is it depends, right? It depends, because jobs are being displaced. Let's just be real. I know I work for a financial institution, and we used to have receptionists. You would come into the office and a receptionist will call the person and bring them out, right? Well, they got rid of receptionists. So now what are you doing, right? You have to call and dial an extension and somebody comes out to greet you, right? There are still like receptionists in certain spaces, in certain areas, but for the majority, a lot of companies don't have receptionists anymore, right? A lot of companies don't have secretaries anymore, right? So those jobs have been displaced and replaced by automation, right? But those same technology is also causing an increase in new jobs and creation of new jobs. So it's kind of like jobs are being displaced and replaced and then reinvented in other spaces, right? So before we didn't have computer software developers, right? We didn't have computer technicians. We didn't have IT consultants, right? So technology is creating new jobs and new industries even, and that's true. And so economists are now saying, hey, Glenda, people are just freaking out and it's very premature. There's not data that completely supports that technology is going to lead to mass unemployment, right? Well, here's something that I want people to keep in mind, because economists back in the mid 2000s, 2005, 2004 were saying that it was going to be very difficult for computers to be able to be programmed to drive cars. That's what they were saying in the mid 2000s, right? So how many of us know by the time 2009, 2010 came, driverless cars were a real thing and being introduced into our market, and now it's a growing reality for us. And unless you've been living under a rock, you know that. And so for the transportation industry, as an example, the reason why truck drivers were on the list of being replaced by automation is because of the growing success of the technology related to driverless cars, right? And so those same economists back in the mid 2000s, not even 5 years later, Waymo came into being, right? In 2009, I think 2010, I think that's the Google driverless car. Right? So they got it wrong in the mid 2000s. And so the thing that we need to keep in mind too And this is what I really want, the meat of what I'm talking about today. The thing that we need to keep in mind is that post the Industrial Revolution, back then when it was factory workers and they were doing a lot of manual labor, well, automation came and replaced that manual labor. So instead of you sitting, assembling and putting parts together manually and sorting manually, now you have a machine that's putting parts together, that's assembling, that's sorting, right? Well, the difference between post-industrial revolution and those jobs being replaced and then new jobs being created like the IT consultants and the software developer is the new technology now is not just replacing manual repetitive tasks. The new technology now is replacing cognitive tasks even. This is why you see insurance jobs on that list. Go back to thebizslayer.com. On my IG, I post. That's why you see financial services type jobs on that list. That's why you see accountants on that list. Anybody that does TurboTax, I'm a TurboTax person, right? So you see machines being able to take data and process data and to be able to spit out an output that mimics human thinking. So because machines have the ability to have cognitive skills, that takes automation and that takes our labor, it takes the threat to another level. And that's the thing that we have to keep in mind. So those jobs, like I said, even transportation, real estate brokers were on that list. Those jobs that were previously limited to human labor, computers are able to do it. How many of us use our computers for things that we never even thought we would be able to use our computers before? Looking up real estate. I know I use my computer for real estate before I pick up the phone and talk to a human person, right? So what do we need to be focused on? So the big issue, because honestly, I know I posed a question earlier this week about how do we compete with technology? You don't. You don't compete with technology. A human can't compete with technology. So here's the strategy that I'm going to give you today. Because what we need to focus on is what are the skills that are necessary, because automation is inevitable and it's getting bigger and it's getting better. And listen, I love my iPhone. I love my laptop. So I'm not complaining because it is a complement to a lot of our labor. But how do we now, what kind of skills do we need now in automation as our world continues to be more and more influenced by artificial intelligence? What skills as a human being do I need to be doubling down on so I stay relevant, so I stay competitive, right? So I'm going to give you 5 skills really, really quickly, 5 skills that I believe, and these are the skills that I'm doubling down on because, again, my industry was on the list. These are the skills that I'm doubling down on to stay relevant in the job force, right? So I'm going to write this out and post it on my site, but these are the 5 skills that I believe we need to strengthen to stay relevant in an increasingly automated world. Number 1, critical thinking. So what we're doing right now, paying attention to data, paying attention to trends, the very conversation, and this is kind of a high-level conversation, right? But having conversations like this, taking data and taking trends and also the nuances of human behavior, right? And being able to interpret that, take the data and interpret data, and then create a course of action based off of that data. So critical thinking, you're going to need to strengthen your critical thinking skills in an increasingly automated world. Having this level of conversation is an example of critical thinking. You guys paying attention to me and being interested in this information, that is that you're setting yourself apart already from the masses who are just, okay, I'm just going to do this job and then get paid and then blah, 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 blah. But understand that people at higher levels, and these are the decision makers, we're having this level of conversation. And I want people who are on the front lines to be empowered to have this level of dialogue, to think, to take data and to interpret and to then, okay, what am I going to do? What course of action am I going to do with this data? So doing that, That is going to set you apart. Creativity. You guys may have noticed on the list that I gave, and again, that list is a short list. There's so many jobs that were at risk. I couldn't fit all those jobs on my post, so I only did a subset, right? But you notice that there weren't jobs that were heavily weighted on creativity on that list, right? Because machines can't mimic creativity, right? So if you're a graphic designer, if you're an artist, and even if you're not, if you're in traditional business, being able to tap into creativity. And what does that mean? Building the ability to build something out of an idea. The ability to build something out of an idea. That skill is going to be critical in an ever increasing automated world. So in order to compete, in order to stay relevant, you're going to need to tap into your creativity. Emotional intelligence, having empathy, being curious, being able to connect with people, even being able to influence. That is going to be critical. Machines can't mimic that. Being able to resolve conflict. That's huge, right? So number 1, critical thinking. Number 2, creativity. Number 3, emotional intelligence. These are skills that you're going to need to strengthen if you're going to stay relevant and competitive in a market that is ever growing in artificial intelligence and being and relying on automation and technology. People management, aka leadership. And this is why I encourage so many of you to not stay in roles too long. Because when you stay in roles too long, you tend to, and I say too long, I'm talking 5+ years in the same role. I've never personally stayed in a role longer than 3.5 years. So when you stay in roles too long, you tend to get a little stagnant in that role. So that's why I always encourage people to do things that challenge you in a new way. Do things that you're not familiar with, because that actually exercises your creativity. It actually exercises your critical thinking. And people management, get into a role where you're leading people and you're having to influence people. And I'll tell you, I've had battles back and forth with former leaders where they say, oh, it's not my job to motivate people. Okay, well, yes, I am a self-motivated person, but self-motivated people want to be inspired. And machines can't mimic that. So tap into your ability to influence and inspire people, because that's what's going to set you apart and keep you relevant. And lastly, service oriented, being a person who is focused on bringing value to people, value to your customers, value to your organizations, being focused on that. And being able to create win-win situations. That's part of the value. So I see negotiation in that. I see communication skills in that. There's so many things that I see in that, right? But that's another skill that is going to be critical that machines can't mimic. So there's always going to be a need for human labor. I don't want to scare people. There's always going to be a need for human labor. So I don't want to say that, oh my goodness, we're not going to need humans. No, we're always going to need humans, but we're going to need humans in a different way. But are you going to stay in step with where the need is going to be? Because what you're doing now may not be a need for that role. There may not be in the future. So are you going to be able to pivot and adjust and step into where the need actually will be? All right, so let me go over real quick. Critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, people management / leadership, and being service oriented. Any questions? I'm excited about this topic because, like I said, we're having discussions at a high level. Leaders are having these discussions in our organizations, and I'm a part of these discussions at a high level, but I'm not seeing my peers have this level of dialogue and discussion. I don't want to say no one, but a lot of people aren't concerned about automation. And I don't want people left behind because they didn't know. Any questions? I'm going to post this on my site. If you like my glasses, you can get your own pair if you go on my site, thebizslayer.com, and type in the Bizslayer. If you type in that promo code, the Bizslayer, you will get 10% off your own pair of glasses. So if you love my glasses, and I always get compliments on my glasses, definitely go to my website, thebizslayer.com. On the bottom of my website, there's an image. I partnered with Vogue Me a few weeks ago. I'm so excited, and they gave me my own promo code. So I love their glasses, and now you can get your own pair and get a discount. Why not take advantage of a discount? So 10% off if you use my promo code, the Bizslayer. Any questions? Thank you, Sharice. I'm on 2 different platforms, y'all. So I'm seeing the comments on Instagram. Facts, good stuff. Thank you. This is really important. It is really important. So I'm going to post this on my site. How to stay relevant in an increasingly automated world. Also, again, I'm going to be doing an interview series, how to maximize your interview process, and make sure that you get what you're worth. A lot of people misstep in the interview process, and they also misstep post-offer because they don't know how to negotiate their value. So we're going to talk about that. If you're interested in relocating, come on, April, May, summertime, new beginnings. If you're interested in relocating and you want to know how to beat out local talent, we're going to be talking about that as well. And then, any other topics that you want me to discuss and provide insight on as a hiring manager, as a person who's had to hire and fire, as a person who's changed roles every 3.5 years, who's moved, 3 times in my career. Definitely send me an email at glenda@thebizslayer.com. glenda@thebizslayer.com. Thank you. I'm so excited. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the love. And you guys have an awesome afternoon. I will post this on my Instagram and my website.